Hello and welcome to the fifth episode of the Sophia Project. Today's episode, Crowned and Confident, I'm your host, Precious Berry, and I'm thrilled to have you with us when we dive deep into conversations that inspire and empower. Today, I have the honor of welcoming Ruth E. Kim, a true force as an amplifier connector to business and nonprofit organization. Ruth brings a wealth of experience from her distinguished 40-year career at the intersection of business and law. As an illustrious journey that she saw her serve as a general counsel for Spectrum Healthcare Services and Late Break Barriers as the first Asian American general counsel of major corporate businesses in St. Louis. She most recently retired in July of 2024. From her role as a general counsel at Fleshman Hillard International Communications. Beyond her legal expertise, Ruth's passion for civic engagement is what truly sets her apart. She's not only a seasoned legal strategist, but also a devoted mentor and tireless advocate for diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. With academic honors from Amherst College at Washington University School of Law under her belt, and with numerous awards recognizing her community leadership from the Very Asian Foundation to the Asian Chamber of Commerce, has dedicated herself to uplifting our community through various civic, charitable, and business projects. Oh my gosh, Ms. Ruth, how are you today? This is just an extensive bio. I just wanted to see and know, like, you're just doing everything.
Thrilled to be here, and it is so nice finally to meet you in person. We've been communicating for a while in text and email and so forth, and I'm delighted to be here. I'm honored by the recognition.
Yes. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your journey?
Sure. So my parents came here from Korea. They came as students and they studied, and they wanted their children, when they had us, we were all born in the United States, to have the benefits of the United States education and to have wonderful lives here. So we grew up in sort of a very almost storybook family. My parents were professors at the university, and it was my brother, me, and my two sisters. And we all played musical instruments, string instruments, and thought we were going to go into pre-med and all of the usual Korean stereotypical stuff, but we didn't. We ended up going into all different careers, and I was in the first class of women at Amherst College. And then I took a year off, was a paralegal, and then I went to law school at Washington University. And then right after that, started my career here 40 years ago, which I cannot believe. It's gone by so fast.
Yeah. Speaking about that career that you are in, what was your passion behind?
Well, it was interesting because I thought I wanted to be a doctor, and I worked with a
Mhm.
wonderful physician who was one of my many mentors along the way over the summers. And I was fascinated by the science, and I was fascinated by what came before and the research, but I was very squeamish about the healthcare. I was very
Mm,
squeamish about the surgeries and the human condition. And he sat me down and he said, Ruth, all of the stuff that you like about medicine, the research, the scholarship, the helping human beings in life, you can get from another profession. But all of the stuff that you don't like about medicine is specific
mhm,
to medicine. So why are you can make yourself get used to this. You can make yourself get used to blood and guts and all of that stuff. But why? There are so many other professions. So I went back to college, and I did not apply to medical school that summer, which I thought I was going to. I applied for a job and got a job in Washington, D.C. Back then it was called an environmental consultant.
mhm,
It's a trendy job. And I thought I was going to go do that for a while. And instead, over the summer when I was home from college, they called me and told me that my position had been eliminated because the person I was going to replace decided to stay in the job for another year and defer his admission to school. So I needed to wait a year. So I thought, what am I going to do? I came home. I was at home that summer, and I was going to tell my parents, who had worked so hard to get us good educations and all of that stuff. What was I going to tell them? That I don't have a job. I'm not going to graduate school. I'm not going to medical school. I'm not getting married. I don't have any plans. So
yes.
I went out that day and I thought I've got to get a job. I thought I'm going to work in a nice building because I went to college, and before I went to college, I waited tables. So after college, I'm not going to wait tables. And I looked at the shiniest, tallest building that was down there, and I thought I'm going to work on the top floor of that building so that
Mhm,
I could say I'm working in an office. And I went into that building, and the top floor at the time was an architecture firm. And I was
mm,
a political science pre-med major, and I thought I can't even sort of talk my way into architecture. So I went down another floor, and it was a law firm, but the motif was very Western. It
Oh,
had
wow.
Frederick Remington statues and cowboys and Indians and so forth. And I thought, that's great, but it's not my speed. So I went down
Mhm.
another floor and it was banquet frozen foods. And I thought, I can't tell my sisters in the struggle that I'm working for frozen fried chicken. And so I went down one more floor and there was this very modern law firm. And I looked at it and I thought, I could do this. I could be a paralegal. That's what a lot of my friends from college did for a year.
Mhm.
I went and I asked for a job there, and they asked me why I thought I could do it. And I said, because I went to Amherst College. I know I could do this. Just give me a shot. And
Yes.
I ultimately did get that job. And while I was there, some wonderful mentors recommended me to law school, and I ended up going to law school.
Oh, that's amazing. So you never know where your future take you. Yes. You never know what your future will take you. I've personally learned that through like just doing things that I thought that I'll never do, and those things that you thought that you'll never do was something that was instilled inside of you that was just waiting to show its light. So
Yeah,
that
and
is,
there
yeah.
are many, many paths to get to where we want to go. There isn't just one straight line. And so if your goal, and I sense that with you, Precious, is to serve the public, help people, do something meaningful, and to make a difference, I could have done that in medicine, but I feel like I got to do that in law. So be open.
That's amazing. I want to ask one quick fun question. What is one fun fact that a lot of people don't know about you?
People think that I'm very outgoing and social. And in truth, I was very, very shy in high school. And my older brother, who was 1 year older than me, knew that I was going to have trouble in college if I was going to be that introverted and shy. And he
Mhm.
sat me down and he said, this is your chance. When you go to college, you're going away and nobody knows you. You can remake yourself and you can be whoever you want to be and be what you want to be. He called me a lot and he came to see me because we were both up in the East Coast. And I would cry every week saying I'm homesick and I feel like I'm faking and I'm not really this outgoing person, et cetera. And he
Mhm.
said, it will become you. Just do it. And it was great advice because by the end of the year, I loved being at college. I loved being among friends, and it was a wonderful experience.
Yeah, that's amazing. You briefly spoke earlier about your some mentorship that you have had that led you into your career that you are in, and also your brother. I wanted to ask you like who has been like your biggest inspiration that helped you along this journey?
I have been fortunate to have so many. When I first started practicing law, it was a tough profession, and there weren't as many women in the profession. Um, and I was really lucky because I would say my mentors along the way started with my father and my mother, my older brother, and an art history professor who, by talking through art, which I never expected, gave me a sense of who I am and how I move through this world. When you look at art of the 1400s, which is hundreds of years ago, and you can still identify something in it and you can still recognize something in it, it makes you feel like people are not that different. You understand a theme or an essence of something from 200 years ago or 600 years ago, then maybe we all are not that different. I had some wonderful legal mentors along the way. And I would say you don't have to have a mentor that looks like you, that is the same gender, that is the same race. You can have many mentors for many things. Like you can have a style mentor, subject matter mentor, a professional mentor. And I was really lucky to have some great ones along the way.
Yeah. Why is leadership important to you?
Leadership is really important because, you know, it can lead to greatness. And
Mhm.
it can help, it moves society forward, it moves our world forward, and it can lead to greatness or it can lead to great evil. And
Mm,
so it is really important to have leaders that we honor and trust who are ethical and principled and compassionate and caring and smart.
got
So
it.
I look for, and I am glad to see, notwithstanding how jaded people can be, that in the upcoming generations, there's so many smart and idealistic and optimistic people who will be great leaders of tomorrow.
Yeah, that is really important to say that because, I think about the younger generations. We are in times right now where we have to constantly remind young people that they can be whatever that they put their minds to, and that if they just strive for greatness and persevere through those challenges that they might be encountering during those times, they can be whatever they want to be. It just takes time and it takes practice. It takes having mentors, making sure that they have people keeping them on the right track. And that's something that has personally inspired me to keep me going and to keep me grounded in who I am.
It takes courage and it takes
Yes.
belief in yourself. But the other thing that it takes that people don't necessarily understand is it takes hard work. You really have to know your stuff and you have to get good at it to be a leader.
Yes.
You have to know what you're talking about and you have to be authentic and consistent and true.
Yes. No, that's definitely true. What does you kind of answered it earlier, but what does mentorship mean to you?
I think mentorship is lifelong learning because it's a two-way street. I love being a mentor. I do that currently. I've done it through most of my professional career, but I've also received mentorship my whole life, and I still do. And I don't think mentors necessarily have to be just somebody senior or older than you. I learn
Mhm.
from the people that I am mentoring. So when I mentor younger rising professionals, I'm amazed by their innovation, their intelligence, and it helps me stay current and in the flow and in the know as well. So I think mentoring and mentorship is a lifelong relationship with learning.
Yeah. Speaking about mentorship, what advice would you give to any young girls who are trying to seek mentors or step into their leadership roles?
Okay, so on this one, I've thought about this and I think about it regularly because I do mentor young up and coming leaders. And I think one of the things I say is that you should calmly and resolutely take up space, not in hysterical or attention grabbing for attention grabbing sake way, but like, you have a poster of Shirley Chisholm behind you, and
Yes.
she has a saying that said, "If there isn't a seat at the table for you, bring your
Br-
own chair." And she said, "Bring your own folding chair," but I think you should bring your own serious chair. But, um, get a seat at the table, and the thing is, in order to have a seat and to have gravitas and credibility, you have to know your stuff. So there is no shortcut. You can't sort of network or relationship your way to the top. You have to know your stuff, whatever that is that you want to be good at. Get very good at it, and you will have credibility and authenticity by doing that. I cannot stress that there is no shortcut
mhm.
to putting in the time and doing the hard work and getting good at what you do because that's what gives you confidence. You know, this whole thing about the imposter syndrome?
Yes,
My
yes.
advice to young women is to crush it. And the way you crush the imposter syndrome is to understand who you are and where you are. When I was young, I struggled terribly from the imposter syndrome. I had male colleagues, partners at law firms say things like, why do you want to practice law while you're here? Because you want to meet a husband? And they would never say that to my male colleagues. And it had the effect of making me unsure of myself. I was
Mhm.
already not sure, and I felt like I was bluffing or faking it till I made it. But the truth of the matter is, every young person is where they are. They're where they should be, where they are. So as we go along, because you don't know everything, don't feel like you have to. But we feel like we do. We feel like, I don't know anything, I'm just bluffing. No, you know what you were supposed to know at the time. I had a mentor who changed my life. He was the most incredible deal lawyer, and I was having a really hard time in corporate law. It was a very male dominated profession at the time, and it was a boys club, and he brought me onto his team, and he just worked with me and supported me in terms of he saw me work hard. I asked a
Mhm.
lot of questions, and he was demanding and exacting, but he was also fair. And I felt at the time that I wanted to be excellent. It wasn't
Yeah.
enough to be good. I wanted to be the best. And I was watching him, and he put together a massive corporate transaction, hundreds of millions of dollars with all kinds of corporate vehicles of offering of debt, bonds, stock, getting loans from insurance companies, getting loans from banks to help this company expand and double itself. And I thought I could never put this deal together. I did my little piece, which I worked on and I did well on, but I thought I can never put this deal together. And working next to him made me grow more and more frustrated. I thought I'm never going to be that good. And so one day I quit. I went and
Wow.
I got a different job and he took me out to lunch and he said, "Why are you quitting?" And I said, I want to be such a good lawyer and I'm never going to be as good as you. I'm never going to be that good. And actually, because I'm ambitious and because I'm competitive and because I'm aspiring, it is physically and emotionally too painful for me to be next to such greatness and to know I will never get there. And he
Mm,
said, "What are you talking about?" And I said, "So I'm just going to go be a mediocre lawyer in-house somewhere and do my basic corporate stuff." And he said, "What are you talking about?" And I said, it's like this. It's like you are on the mountain top of great lawyers. I look at you and I am trudging across the desert to get to you. And
right.
I have been trudging for years and I'm not getting any closer and I can't do it anymore. It's too painful to look at that kind of excellence and know that I've worked this hard and never going to get there. And he said the kindest thing to me that a mentor has ever said. He said, "Ruth, I don't agree with the analogy. I'm not on a mountaintop, but for purposes of your analogy, let's talk about it." He said, "Let's say I am up here. I would advise you to stop in your tracks and turn and look at the distance you've come from the far horizon. The
Mm,
distance that you've traversed to get to where you are is so much farther than the distance to get to where you are to me."
mm,
Said, and he said, "You just are not seeing yourself clearly." And I said, I think I'm seeing myself very clearly. I think I have really good perspective. And he said, "You don't. You are too in it." And I quit anyway. And he said, "Listen, you can just rescind your resignation and come in one day and pick up exactly where you left off, and we will act like it never happened." But I didn't because I never thought I would get there. And so I didn't have trust in myself. I didn't give myself enough grace. And I went in house. I stayed in touch with him and he mentored me through until he passed away
oh, I'm
some
sorry
years
to hear
ago.
that.
But the interesting thing is, I am now the age he was when he was mentoring me. And when I left my last job, I looked at what he did and I thought it seemed so daunting at the time. And I look at it now and I think, no, you know what? I can do that. And not only can I do all of what he was doing, I can do more. And what I didn't know at the time, and I didn't really see clearly, was he was picking experts. He didn't know all the details about tax law. He didn't know all the details about securities law, but he ran the ship because he knew enough. And I look at that now and I think, I did not give myself enough grace. I did not, I was so close to it and I quit. But my path in-house has been really rewarding because I got other great outside lawyers. And the thing about being an in-house counsel is you get the chance to work with the best lawyers in the world and they make you better.
Yeah.
So that's my mentoring story, but that's how
No,
mentoring
that's a beautiful story. That
changes
is,
lives.
yeah. Yes, that's oh my gosh, it touched me. If you could give your younger self one piece of advice, what would that be?
It would be to give myself more grace. I look back now and I think I wanted to be the best. And I would go work a 12 or 14-hour day, and then I would go to the law library and research what I told clients or partners during the day because I was so unsure. And I would end up going home every night at 1 mom's house and I would cry and say, "This is so hard. This is so hard. I don't think I'm going to make it." And people are so mean. And she said, "Who's mean to you?" I said, "Oh, some of these other, not my mentor partner, but some of these other partners." And she had the great mother cure. She said, "Don't worry. Those people who are bad to you." I said, "Yeah." She goes, "They're going to go to hell." So that was my mom's cure. But it was wonderful because I had my mom, I had my friends, I had my family around to give me that
Yes.
reaffirmation and support. But I would tell young women, be a little bit fearless, stretch. Don't just do what's in your comfort zone. Be a little bit courageous because that's how you get opportunity and that's how you get recognized in your workspace to be elevated and to move forward and to be able to aspire to greatness. So I would
Yeah.
say give yourself some grace. Understand that you don't have to be the best. It's okay to be better than many and not as good as some because you
Mm,
have to look at the cost of your life, right? What else are you
yes.
sacrificing and giving up? So I would say give
That's
yourself
yes.
grace and have some courage, stretch. But I can't stress enough. Put in the time and do the work and get really good at what you do because when you are good, you will have confidence. And the hardest part for me was I didn't have confidence for 5 years. For 5 years of being a young lawyer, I was unsure, I was insecure, and I didn't have great people until I met my mentor in my 5th year to tell me, "This is okay, you are where you should be." So look for mentors, look for other people in your profession, out of your profession, who can give you coaching and guidance and reaffirmation, and
Mhm.
mentors should advocate for you. It's not enough just to give you advice and support you. They need to go to bat for you where it matters.
No, that is definitely true.
I keep talking on and on because I could say so
No.
much about this.
No, it just makes me think about my journey just quickly, how I came from a provisionally accredited school district, Riverview Garden School District here in St. Louis. Like no resources, community of poverty. That is, this is a community that had a lot of crimes and violence, and coming over to Washington University, you spoke earlier about that imposter syndrome. I felt like I didn't belong. Going to a school where you have students who are one of the best in their schools coming to an institution, how can I compare myself to them? Like, my school didn't have the resources. We were, in low accreditation, we're partial accreditation, and we didn't have the certain things that other some of my counterparts had. So I had,
I
yeah,
watched you, and you are doing it right. You are taking
yes,
space. You are a little bit fearless, which I think we as women need to be.
hmm,
And you are making a difference. I mean, how courageous and great for you to pull up your own chair, as Shirley Chisholm said, to start the first NAACP chapter at WashU. That's heroic. And,
thank you.
so when you say, have suffered from imposter syndrome and the fit and so forth. Yeah. My dad's first lesson to me when we were little, we were
Hmm.
traveling and we would drive everywhere in our old unair conditioned station wagon. And we drove south and we drove we were driving to Florida and we drove through Alabama or Mississippi and we stopped at a family style restaurant back in the 60s. And
Hmm.
we walked in and it was our Asian family walking into an all white restaurant. Everything stopped. Like people stopped eating everything and people just stared at us. And this little boy got up and he pointed to us and he said, Mom, what are them people doing here? And he let out a string of racial epithets that you can't believe would come out of a little boy's mouth. And I think, in grade school, and at that age, grade school girls don't want to be seen. They don't want to be the center of attention. So I was really upset. And I told my dad, Dad, let's go. They don't want us here. And he said, no, this was before the internet and Google Maps. And he said, we don't know if there's going to be another restaurant or anything, and you kids need to eat. So he walked to the table, and this kid was still yelling these nasty things. And I was on the verge of tears because I just felt singled out. And my dad went over to his mother, and the whole restaurant was dead silent. They were just like leaning forward to hear what he had to say. And he just said, excuse me, ma'am, your son, these are my children. This is my family. I think you need
Right.
to teach your son some manners. And
Mm.
she suddenly got embarrassed, and the whole restaurant got embarrassed. And she pulled him to sit down, and they went on, everything went back to normal and stuff.
Hmm.
But I did not feel normal, and I told my dad, I don't want to be here. They don't want us here.
Right.
Let's leave. And he said, no, I need to tell you, kid, something. That little boy has nothing on you. He's a citizen, you're citizens. He's an American, you're Americans. But you have something that he doesn't have. You have a
Mm.
superpower. And your superpower is your Korean heritage. He will never have that and he will never understand that. So you are every bit as good as him, if not more. You have every bit of right to be everywhere you are. Don't ever let anybody tell you that you don't have a right to be there. Don't ever let anybody tell you that you don't belong because you have the same rights. You have every right to be where you are. Don't ever let anybody else define you.
That's beautiful.
And that's what you're doing. That's
Thank
what you're doing
you.
at WashU.
Thank you so much. That really means a lot. Before we get into our rapid fire questions, I wanted to quickly ask you, what does it mean to be honored for the Little Black Dress brunch with the Sophia Project?
It's so gratifying. So I spent 40 years working in law and I retired this past summer. And I decided that I want this next phase of my life to be something where I am making a difference. I talked to a
Mm.
lot of CEOs and C-suite people before I retired to ask them, what are you doing in retirement and how's it going for you? And a lot of them seemed a little bit lost because they were so identified with their jobs, but a lot of them were purposeful and they were doing things. And my friend Anna Crossland, who's the retired executive of International Institute, said, I want to make a beneficial difference. I want to make the world better than before I pass through it. So told her I'm stealing that. And so my goal in this next chapter or phase of adventure of my life is to do that. It is to amplify what's good in St. Louis, to help move the community forward, to make a beneficial difference where I can. And the fact that I'm being recognized by the Sophia Project and the Little Black Dress event
Yes.
is a huge honor. I feel like what I am doing is being reaffirmed, that what I am
Mm,
doing matters. And we all like to be seen sometimes. So it's about being seen and being heard too. So it gives me additional
yes.
and energy to do what I'm doing.
No,
So
that's
thank you.
beautiful.
Thank you so much. And
No,
I'm
that
honored to be
yeah.
with this class of women. I looked at the other awardees and they're all remarkable.
No, that's beautiful. I tell people you deserve it. You deserve it. You know, you have an extensive career that you had to persevere and work through some obstacles to get to where you go and get to where you needed to go and whatever you had to do in your future to get to where you needed to be. And, you know, you said it something earlier, it's about working hard. And when you work hard for something, everything will turn into light and come into light. And just wanted to say that just keep going and we are all super proud of you. So,
It's the chance to pay it forward a little bit, like the really uplifting thing about engaging with the Sophia Project. And I did work with Marion Middle School for
mhm,
girls, and I've done work with Boys and Girls Club, is the hope of the future rides
yes.
on you all, the next generation. And so to be connected and to be engaged by and with you is great. It's an honor and it's a thrill.
Yes. Alrighty, let's get into these rapid fire questions. All
Right.
right, are you ready? Okay, morning person or night person?
All night.
Night person.
Like
Yeah,
binging until ridiculous hours.
I
Sometimes
know.
binge watching until ridiculous hours.
I know. I'm the same way. I didn't go to bed till like 4 in the morning last night, and I wake up at like 8. I don't know why I'm like that.
Well, it's because we feel like something's going to happen in the world and we don't want to miss it,
No,
right?
that's what my mom used to tell me when I used to go on long car rides and we used to go travel to different states and I would be that child where I would never go to sleep. And she
Because
was
you
like,
don't
"Are
want
you
to miss it.
I don't want to miss anything, you know?"
It's funny because my husband gets up very early and he said, but if you go to sleep at a regular hour and you get up earlier than everybody, you will get the news before everybody. And I'm like, no, I want to get it at night before everyone before everyone wakes up.
Wow. Favorite song that just keeps you motivated or hypes you up?
I have two. If I really need energy, one is Steel Claw by Tina Turner because the beat in that is just crazy and driving. And the other one is No Surrender by Bruce Springsteen because I like the words of that.
I might have to check that one out. You said it's No Surrender by Bruce, what's the
Bruce
last?
Springsteen,
Springsteen.
yeah, he's from
Okay.
my generation, so you
No,
probably don't know.
I listen to a lot of 60s, 70s, 80s. I'm all in that. I'm an old soul.
Well, two other songs that I love, but they're not hyping songs, but they're songs that are very poignant and meaningful to me are Thunder Road by
Mm,
Bruce Springsteen because it tells a beautiful story about longing and busting out of your constraints and your
mhm.
physical and emotional restrictions. And I love that it's like getting out on the free road and throwing away inhibition. And the second one is Willie Nelson's song, and Elvis sang it, and it is always on my mind. And the it's about you are always on my mind. So if I didn't thank you or I didn't say enough, please know that you are always on my mind. Love that song because it reminds me to remember and think of people so I don't feel that kind of regret. It's a song
Mm.
about regret, saying, I wish that I had told you how much I loved you. I wished I had told you how much you meant to me or did for me. And I didn't, but you were always on my mind. Well, if people are just on your mind, but they don't know it, then you've lost the opportunity,
That's
right?
beautiful.
So those are sort of four songs that whenever they come on, I blast them. And they're on my
Coffee or
playlist too,
yes, I have to check those out. I'm gonna check those out. Coffee or tea?
because there's so many more varieties for me.
I'm not a tea person. I'm more of a coffee person. I don't know. I feel like maturity is
If I
when
was working and if I'm at meetings, here's my tell. If I'm bored at a meeting, I'm not a coffee drinker, I'll get up and I'll go get coffee at the coffee
yeah.
machine and I'll keep going back and forth to it with half cups of coffee to signal that it is time to end this meeting.
Time to wrap it up. Dream vacation spot.
Love Hawaii so much because it's tropical,
Hey,
but it's USA. And so you don't have to worry about navigating foreign language and customs, which is fun and interesting, but it's really easy and it's beautiful. And I have family there. But really, my dream vacation is anywhere my husband and I decide to run off to. We always have a great time wherever we go. There's nothing like vacationing with the person you love.
So beautiful. I went to Hawaii I went to Africa for study abroad last summer, and I went to Hawaii as my vacation once I got back, which sounds fun.
Which island did you go
I
to?
went to two islands within the 2 weeks that we were there. I went to Kona for the first week, and then we went to Honolulu for the second
Yeah,
week.
I love Honolulu because you can get to the ocean, but you can do stuff like
Yeah.
museums and shopping and food.
Yeah.
I also love Seoul, Korea. I love
Mm.
Seoul. It's a beautiful city, and the juxtaposition of amazing ancient history right next to the cleanest, sleekest, most modern advancements is just so dramatic. And it's just the city is spotlessly clean, and the food is amazing. The fashion is incredible. The technology is fabulous. And I love that city too.
Is that in Hawaii?
No, Seoul, Korea.
Seoul, Korea, got
Yep,
it.
yep.
Oh, wow.
And I do
Okay.
love Honolulu, which we were talking about earlier. So.
Yeah, I feel like it was very Americanized for me when once I found it had so many Costco's there. I was like, "Oh my gosh." I was like, "That feels like I'm at home." Okay, my last question I want to ask you is what is one word that describes your leadership style?
I would say evolving, that it's constantly evolving. I try to be a compassionate leader, but I also try to keep up with, the employees that I hired 20 years ago are very different from the employees that I hired just before I left the profession. So I would say that, being attuned to changes and continuing to evolve is my leadership style.
Beautiful.
And then I have one little quote that I want to throw out to all of the young women who are listening. It's a Maya Angelou.
Beautiful. Well, we thank you for coming on. You are the best. I just wanted to say that you personally inspired me throughout our time here on the Crowned and Confident podcast. And we cannot wait to just see all the amazing things that you're doing and look forward to seeing you for the Little Black Dress Brunch in. Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, see you.